On this episode, we all just get along and share everything and just, just spread it around so everyone feels good. Welcome to Save Every Universe. My name is Alec Garcia. I am a bankrupt Swedish software engiyer gone mad.
Is that a video game character? Or just like...
It's a video game character.
Like
I've never
life
played
goals.
I've never played this, but I'm about to.
Oh.
Yeah.
Spoil. I know what that one is. My name is Robbie. I'm a teenage arcanist who was born into a prominent family and now uses my knowledge and talents to assist the Scions and the Warrior of Light with stopping the primal threats.
Archimist, like Arkham Asylum, Batman.
Arcanist.
Dude, you gotta stop with the Batman. Who were you last week?
I was Batman. Actually, this one I kind of cheated on this one.
I'm sure you did.
I was Mr. Incredible.
From the movie, right?
Well, from Lego Incredible game.
Okay. That's a little fudgy.
Wow.
Actually, I thought that when you said that. I was like, it can't be a movie, though.
Can't be a movie. He's a video game character.
Technically.
Well,
You're
yeah.
on thin ice, brother.
Technically, I checked in with my lawyer and he said it was good.
Okay,
Yeah,
good. All right.
he approved it. I haven't actually played the Lego Incredibles game yet. It looks pretty good.
It exists, though.
I mean, you were PewDiePie on an episode.
That's true. That was
So,
fudgy.
That was, I think, straight banned.
You're
You're lucky the podcast police didn't come make us podcast royale.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? To keep our position
A YouTuber.
on the
It's
internet.
like, that's almost worse than like a movie character.
Yeah, I followed the rules.
More
He's a
than-
playable character in a
That's true.
video game.
That's true. That's fair.
If he happens to be in a movie,
Mostly in a movie. And last time I was the player character from The Division, the dollar flu and all that stuff. I had refired that back up.
agent, yeah.
The agent, yeah. After all the announcement stuff of Division 2. Got the itch to play it a little bit, and I hadn't restarted a whole new campaign since they've made all the changes and stuff, and went back and played it. It really is a solid looter shooter.
looter shooter.
That's what some people call him.
Looter shooter.
Loot shooter.
Yeah, I want to make a I don't even know her joke to that, but I won't.
I hardly know her. Looter shooter.
Looter shooter.
Oh, dude.
No,
That could be like a violent
No.
crime.
Yeah, that's true. Good thing I didn't make that joke.
Oh, you pushed me into it. Off you go under the bus wheels.
That's on you, dude. I'd asked my lawyer. He said I can't get in criminal trouble with that.
But you can bait someone else
you
into
can,
saying
yeah,
it.
absolutely. And you're not an accessory if you do that.
Yeah.
So I'm good.
So if you missed it last time, we talked about Battle Royale, PUBG, Fortnite. We touched on that lawsuit issue a little bit.
Right, but in case you missed it, just real quick, Fortnite's one of the big Battle Royale games. It's run by Epic Games. They had sold the Unreal Engine, I guess, that
Licensed it to PUBG.
PUBG.
Yeah. A lot of games license it, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of games use it. PUBG had then turned around and sued Fortnite when Fortnite started making a Battle Royale shooter game. I believe the lawsuit was in South Korea. But honestly, days after that episode aired last week, they dropped it.
PUBG dropped it.
Which is only like a week after. I
Which
think.
they had to. They had nothing. They like even from, well, you're more law-y than probably anyone. Like
In the
in
whole
our
world.
listener base and stuff. But even like I could look at that and be like, what the hell? Like I'm a total layman, know nothing about law. And it was like, what over what?
Well, I don't know
no sense.
entertainment law or intellectual property law or anything.
You're-
But you also know, like, you can't... It's just an idea, right?
Right,
And
yeah.
an idea by itself is not something that can just...
It's like
be
suing
the-
someone over having a capture the flag mode in there,
Right,
thing
right.
or something like
so,
that.
yeah, there was no way they were going to win. We said that any article you read said the same thing, and so no big surprise there. But so just thought we'd follow up with that. Breaking news.
And just one more house cleaning issue. If you can hear crazy rock and roll music in the background, I think probably the number one misconception of podcasting is how rock and roll this lifestyle really is. And so if you hear it, that's just...
Yeah, most people think it's not. That's a misconception.
Yeah.
It is.
It's so rock and roll.
It's so rock and roll. Fans follow us everywhere. Bands just break out into song. But,
so if you hear that in the background, that's what that is.
That's what that is. It's just our loyal fan base putting on a rock concert for us.
Moving on. So this is an issue Robbie wanted to talk about, and I have a feeling him and I are going to differ on some things, but not disagree as much as we think we will. Go ahead and introduce the topic, Robbie.
Okay, so cross-platforming is something that's been like a topic forever, right? In fact, I remember even being a kid trying to explain to parents, like, well, I play Sonic on the Sega Genesis, and I play Mario on Nintendo, and then like parental or grandparents were like, well, isn't there a system that just plays all of them? No, Grandma, there's not a system. Oh my God, noob. Yeah, sure, that's a great idea, but it's never going to happen. And we've been told our whole lives it's never going to happen. It's just not feasible. There's so many technological barriers or whatever. Yeah, and it turns out it's all a crock of shit. And it's always been a crock of shit.
Well, and what you just said, though, is like there was the cross-platform thing of like IPs not crossing over from like Sega versus Nintendo or whatever back in the day. But once things went online, it was more about who controlled player base.
That's right.
There was games that was the same game on two different platforms, but they refused to share player bases, which is really more where this conversation is going now.
Right. So recently, recently, if you've been following the news at all, there's been some stuff with Fortnite and there's been some stuff with Minecraft where Microsoft and Nintendo have agreed to allow cross-platform play in Minecraft.
And I guess Rocket League not too long ago had a similar issue. I don't think it made as big of news for different reasons, but go ahead.
So there's been a lot more cross-platform play going on in recent years because the whole thing was bullshit all along, and now people are willing to play nice together. But I mean, I think Dreamcast is the first system where they allowed cross-play with Windows or something like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I can't remember.
With like Phantasy Star Online.
It might have
been
been Phantasy Star Online, but there was cross-platform. And then MMO, the Final Fantasy MMOs have been doing it forever. Final Fantasy 11 was cross-platform with PC, PS2, and Xbox 360.
Oh, wow.
They all played together. So
it can be done.
So
it
we
has
know
been
it's
done.
bullshit, right? That's the thing. We know it's bullshit. We've kind of just been accepting it, but now the pressure's kind of getting put on to companies like Sony. So that's what started this whole idea.
Well, there's sort of two sides to the conversation, though. There's the general pressure of, like, people should play nice with each other, and it's better for the players if they can choose what platform they play on, and everyone's kind of in a common pool. But the thing that really, like, put the fire under everyone's ass on this is Fortnite, is Epic Games. You can have an Epic Games account and play Fortnite across. If you want to play it on Switch and then jump over and play it on PC, then play it on your tablet, whatever, right? You can play it on anything unless you connect your Epic Games account to your PS4. And once you do that, Sony basically locks your Epic account to where you can't reassociate that same account with anything else. And it's not like a choose to do it. It's a once you play Fortnite on PS4 with that account, you're locked in. Right. And people are rightfully very, very upset about that.
Now, there's been a lot of, like you were saying, like there's been some trends coming of cross-platform with Rocket League. Microsoft recently made the choice to start allowing some of their exclusives like Gears of War and things like that to be cross-platform between Windows and Xbox.
Which makes a lot of sense to me, because a lot of people game on their PCs with an Xbox controller anyway. Right. You know, with certain titles. And
they're kind of geared on similar OS, like operating systems. Yeah. Microsoft is really just cross-platforming with Microsoft, right? There were some criticisms of that choice. This happened a year ago. It's been a while since they started doing this, but there were some criticisms that, why should I buy an Xbox now? Right. Like, well, you're just killing your player base. I think most of that is phooey. I don't think that really changed much. Right. But we have seen a lot of these trends coming out, right?
Well, and what's blowing people's minds now, though, is like the newer, I think Nintendo put it out, but it shows a person playing Minecraft on Switch, and then the screen splits, and it's someone playing with an Xbox controller, and they're playing Minecraft, and it says build together, explore together, adventure together, better together, and it's basically implying it's better for everyone that we're cross-platforming between Xbox and Nintendo. Right. And so Nintendo is paying, they created this ad and are paying to run it places, and it features someone playing on an Xbox, which is really crazy. I don't think that's ever happened before, where one console actively promotes other people playing on a different console.
Right. And they put like the Xbox emblem, the trailer I saw had both their logos on it. It was green for the Xbox, red for the Nintendo. They've been putting stuff out on Twitter that was like, hey, Microsoft, let's build together. Like, it is weird, right? It's kind of unheard of, but it's received a lot of positive feedback. People love it. People think it's really cool. I bet it does promote consumers to buy it. Like, I bet more people would be, oh, hey, I'll play Minecraft with you on Xbox or whatever. So I think maybe we can use
without having to pick up a whole nother console to play with their friend. They can jump into certain games with cross-platforming. Yeah,
I'm going to argue that whatever is good for the goose is good for the gander. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
But let's address what you wrote in your notes about your first point about whether or not this is good. Is this good for the market to have this type of crossplay?
My notes are always raw stream of consciousness, and so they're a little aggressive. But let me say it this way.
You don't have to word it the way you worded it.
Yeah, I'm not going to. Let me say it this way, though, is that I think the is it good or bad question when it comes to Sony in particular, not Sony in particular, when it comes to the market leader in particular, trying to say they should do X, Y, Z, is kind of irrelevant, because in the last generation, Xbox 360 was the market leader, clearly, right? Above PS2. And if I remember right, the PS3. And the conversation came up then, too, about cross-platform and that kind of stuff. And asking the market leader to kick their player base into the pool it's just not going to happen. And I think the expectation that it will is a little bit naive of the fact that that this is a big business. Yeah. And I don't think it's going to happen. There's no incentive for the biggest dog with the largest player base to be like, here you go, competitors. Why would they do that?
They would do it because it's good for us, right? And here's my argument on that. One, they don't have anything to lose, because these days, I think, we've talked about this, but I think the reason people choose platforms is based on their exclusive titles. I'm not suggesting suggesting, I don't think anybody's really suggesting we release God of War on Xbox and everything else, right? So Sony's still going to retain their player base based on their great exclusive games. No one's going to go out because of this and go, well, now I'm going to buy an Xbox. They might now, the way Sony's playing the market, the way that Sony's not playing nice, they are more apt to lose players who are like, well, if Microsoft and Nintendo are going to be cool about sharing, I'm going to go play on those consoles.
Right.
But what's Sony really have to lose?
I just can't see Sony opening the door up. But they have, like you said, they have done it with Final Fantasy XIV. Why did they allow Final Fantasy XIV to cross-platform with different things, but they won't allow, like Fortnite, why won't they allow Epic accounts?
Right, because even today, right?
Because the players should be pissed their accounts got locked without their knowledge, but if I was Epic, I think Epic should be the most mad of anybody that part of their player base got fragmented out when everything else can cross-platform.
Well,
I think Epic should be super pissed about this.
Right, on that point, I think Epic knew. They must have.
They had to.
They knew,
known,
right? Because they're also not saying anything about it, which makes me think they legally probably, that's part of their agreement of using Sony's network or something.
Yeah, and one of the developers, I guess, did take sort of a subtle jab at like an award. I can't remember if it was during E3, but he basically was like, some platforms you might not be able to, which we don't understand. It was like this really soft, but we think it's bullshit too, but we can't really do anything about
they're stuck, right? If they're going to use PSN, they have to agree to Sony's terms.
Right.
They may not like the terms, and it's smart for them to just keep their head down and be like, yeah, fuck Sony, like, fire away. But chances are, I bet they agreed to this.
Yeah.
They knew that.
They had to.
They had to.
Well, and because Sony is the market leader, that's a huge segment of the player base. What are they going to say?
Crazy.
Oh, no, we won't put Fortnite.
Yeah, we're not going to put Fortnite on PlayStation, even though PUBG's the main content.
And PUBG going on just Xbox was a huge mistake. Back to your original point, I do agree that case by case, if a developer wants to work it out for all those cross-platform things to happen, I don't think a Sony or a Microsoft should stand in the way of those doors being open.
Okay.
On a specific game by game.
I thought you would want to have like a free market debate about this.
I disagree with like, let's pick up torches and pitchforks and like, let's stick it to Sony and demand they like, so at the end of the day, Sony can do whatever the hell they want.
Right. But, okay, so here's an interesting thing. If you go off of like the Adam Smith argument and competition encourages a good market and it ultimately benefits the consumer, right? I don't think those principles apply in this case. And the reason why I don't think so is because if Sony's actually having the opposite effect, they're going to drive consumers away from them by forcing competition. I don't know if that wouldn't be true in like a pure...
Well, it's like a false competition thing.
Right.
They don't actually have a competitive edge here that they're pushing into the marketplace. It's sort of a stingy, gimme, I'm holding all the chips because I'm a big boy. It's like that type of thing, and the market sees through it.
Right, and this isn't like... It would be one thing if you were like dealing with cars, and the best car dealer, or the best car manufacturer was like, you got to dumb down your cars and make a inferior product so that it's fair to everyone. That's bad for the consumer, right? But that's not what's happening. This really is only benefiting the consumer, and it's only benefiting, and you've made this point offline about lobbies, quicker gameplay, those types of things. That's beneficial to Sony. Maybe they have, because they have the bigger player base, they don't suffer as much.
Well, with like the Fortnite example though, like that's most beneficial to Fortnite, I think. Like the bigger lobbies and all that stuff. I think that's more beneficial to Epic and to Fortnite than it is to Sony directly, probably.
But don't you think in the long run, what's beneficial to developers ultimately benefits the consoles they develop for?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I mean, so many people are playing Fortnite on PS4, right?
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like even if you argue the free market case, that the government's role is to sort of to keep a open, fair playing ground for businesses to thrive and compete in a console ecosystem. It is sort of a similar deal.
I just think it's a little different than what you would normally use, because I love a free market argument as much as anybody, and I've probably made them to you in our dorms many times, right? I just think this is a little bit different than from a pure product standpoint, because things are online and there is interaction, and that's a little different than just a pure consumer product model.
Right.
Though, do you want to go back to the Epic point about their accounts? I think this makes Sony look horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is nothing but horror. Like, them deciding not to open up Minecraft, I mean, okay, it makes Nintendo and Xbox look good. That's not too much of a black eye on Sony, because it's Minecraft. That's okay. Not that there's not a ton of people who play Minecraft, but it's just different, and you can play Minecraft on so many different IPs. That's not a huge...
different platforms.
Right, but this is a big deal, right? Because, I mean, Fortnite, so many people played Fortnite on PlayStation as a counterpoint to PUBG, I think. So now to make Sony look bad with Fortnite, not that it was an exclusive, but it always felt like a Sony exclusive almost, right? For how big the player base was.
Right.
I think this is horrible PR for Sony.
I agree, and it made me wonder if Sony was... I mean, because you saw like Xbox Xbox dominated the last generation. PS4 has clearly dominated this generation. It made me wonder if we're sort of seeing the end, because once a top dog stays on top for long enough, they start to get a little bit lazy, and they start to get a little bit, we're going to hold on to all the stuff that we have and keep you down there and that kind of shit. Right. And they end up opening up these holes, creating these their own downfall, basically. Right. And I'm wondering, obviously, like the lineup Sony unleashed at E3 was powerful, but I wonder if we're not seeing the end. Because if they're pulling that kind of shit, like stingy, give me all your Epic accounts and we're going to lock them up, that's crazy. And I wonder if that is the signal of a larger internal shift that's happening at Sony, that they are starting to stagnate and they're setting themselves up to get knocked off by Xbox in the next generation. Well,
especially if you see more cross-platforming from Microsoft where they're playing nice with Nintendo.
It's going to be the same thing. Whoever controls all the stuff on a long enough timeline will always try to control all the stuff, right? So if Xbox does become the big dog, you're going to see, even if it's not cross-platforming with whatever the Fortnite is of that time, you're going to see behavior like Sony is exhibiting right now, I think. I think it's just a market leader behavior. You know what I mean?
That's probably true. I mean, Microsoft has already said the next Halo game is not going to cross-platform with PC. Yeah. Because they want people to buy Xboxes, right? Which is weird to me, because I'm like, so do you want to do this or do you not? It's going to be this half in, half out. But I will say, just already, the fact that we're even seeing this at all blows my mind, right? Because, I mean, from a childhood standpoint, I would have never imagined a world where Nintendo and Microsoft were making freaking advertisements together. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. So I don't think you're ever going to see, like what I was saying, like title console exclusives pollinating, unless it's like from a bankrupt, like Sonic getting bought out by Nintendo kind of a thing. Right. But I think the idea of being able to actually play Destiny with like friends that play on PC or whatever, that's a cool idea.
And with Destiny in the spot that it's in right now, they would probably benefit from just opening up, giving Xbox players all the exclusive shit that Sony's been giving, cross-platform it. That would be good for everybody in terms of lobbies and load speeds and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Now, I don't think that's even going to happen. But you could even work around
if you wanted to give an example of a game that would massively benefit from having a larger pool immediately overnight just by cross-platforming, Destiny's a good example.
Right. Well, you know what you could do is you could even, maybe there'd be a way to open a game like that, because there are exclusives in Destiny that are only on PlayStation that aren't on Xbox, right? Maybe you could still keep those walls up. Say, well, they don't get to play the strike. When you're running that strike, you're only running with Sony customers.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're going to run the raid and you're going to run whatever, you can play with anybody. Right. You know, I think there are ways you could even work around that so they still get there.
But even world events, like I've had I've had many times where you're trying to like do public events, or you're trying to do escalation protocol, which in their mind and their pitch was like very like there's going to be all these people in the world and you're all going to band together to do this thing. And I've been like, there's maybe one other person there and you launch it and get slaughtered and that person bails. And
and they've even said escalation protocol, they've said it can be done with 3 people, which is bullshit.
Yeah, you need like 5 or 6.
Right. And if there's not a lot of people loading up into the world, good luck. Yeah. I mean, I've done one like full clear of that, and it took us kind of jimmying the system of loading up individually, getting into the same planet, and then piling in 5 other people to, you know, which is kind of bullshit.
Right. And it's not how the original concept for that mechanic was at all.
Right. I think games like Overwatch might benefit as well, right? Because, I mean, there's a lot of people who play it on every platform. If you allowed, I think competitive stuff might be a little tricky, especially bringing in PC.
Yeah, that's always the
keyboard and mouse is faster.
It is more precise.
And you know, we're sorry if you don't think so, but it's science. I still think there's workarounds for that. You could be okay when you're running Crucible, fine. You're not playing against PC players. You know, you're not playing against Xbox players. But when you're running strikes, when you're doing, because so much of that game is togetherness. So maybe it wouldn't work on a game like Overwatch because it's too competitive. There are plenty of games like Destiny, like Anthem coming out, Division, where you could just limit any PvP aspect to console specific. I think.
Well, so I don't know if you've seen it on Fortnite, is that I think they give that option where it's you can do within your console specific thing, or you can open it up to, or it will automatically switch based on certain game types. I can't remember exactly how it works, but people are already doing that. Fortnite's already doing that.
It can't be that hard. And I read articles early on that were like, oh, it just wouldn't be fair, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you give me the option? Well, I don't need the developer telling me, you know, if I want to go toe-to-toe with an Xbox One X player, let me try.
Talking about like free market, strongest survives type situation, like I bet if you threw console and PC people together for a while, there would be some console people that could beat PC people. Like we talked on our PC versus console episode about how if you suck, you suck.
Right.
I think Rhino on that, our guest on that episode, said the tools maketh not the man.
Yeah, like, that's right. And I think I had talked about how even though I know keyboard and mouse is superior, and I play that on PC, I've played with plenty of ass clowns on PC that I know I could trash with a controller because they just suck, right? Yeah. I think you're right. And I think we should have that option. And now that we know it's possible, I want to kind of start demanding that option. You know what I mean?
So, but I do think the free market side of it that I do agree with is Sony is the big dog right now. I think it's a mistake how they're handling things, but they have every right to say F you to anyone else who's like, you should play with us. Because if the tables turn, Microsoft's going to pull some of the same bullcrap.
I guess they have the right. It's just stupid.
Sure.
I don't disagree. I don't think the government should write a law and compel them to do it, but I just think it's stupid for Sony to do it, right? And I think it's bad for them to do it.
Agreed.
I'm not suggesting we
There are people in the internet land in this conversation, though, who are like, if we just put enough pressure, we can make Sony blah, blah, blah. And I think that's a bunch of bullshit.
I think we, the consumer,
voting with dollars.
Right.
Yeah.
And feedback and writing them letters and shit. That's fine. That's democratic.
Equally, though, I do think it's really smart because that sounds like in favor of Sony. They can do whatever they want. That's true. But I think it's great that Nintendo and Xbox are like banding together to shit on Sony and like tip this turtle over and stab it in the belly. Go for it. Like, I'm free market just as much on that side.
Sure. Well, and in that sense, that benefits us. And see, I think that's how...
And that's what I guess that's what I want. Is like, I don't want an end to the bloodshed. I want the bloodshed to continue between these companies because that, in the end, is good for us. Because a solution will come out of it, even if it doesn't come from Sony.
Yeah, that's true. So
I don't think the solution is going to be like Sony rolls over and is like, here's our player base.
Well, even if they do, and I hope they do, there'll be other competitive things. It's not like these companies are going to merge into mega company and all just create the ultimate...
It kind of seems like that's what some people want, though, the way this conversation is going in like the mass way. Is that, like, everyone should just play with everyone and everyone should share player bases on everything. And
I think, though, it could be done more. I'm not suggesting the Unity console come out and we all rally together. And I just think that more crossplay would benefit the consumer.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Thank you for listening to Save Every Universe. If you enjoyed this episode, please go give us a review on the platform of your choice. But only if it's the platform. No, I'm just kidding.
You can do it on every platform, because no matter what platform you do it on, if you send it to us...
That would be nice if we could just get one platform.
You know, we do have one email address that you can send it from. And you can send it from... If you have the ability to send it to our email address, saveeveryuniverse@gmail.com, it will reach us. You can do it from a Mac. You can do it from your phone. You can do it from anything that has internet capabilities.